Alright, what is going on, y'all? Connor McElvaney here with Bassallyear. Welcome back to another episode. Thanks y'all for tuning in today. Now for a while I was thinking generally what kind of new video do I want to introduce to the YouTube community. And a lot of people do, you know, the tournament reviews, a lot of people do bait reviews, rod reviews, but you kind of see that pattern of people that are sponsored by continuously the same couple companies and representing the same companies. You know, I've represented and worked with companies, countless companies before, but now that I've been, you know, active duty Army, I haven't really had that side time to work with companies, so I'm totally free, like a free agent. I don't work with anybody. There's a lot of companies I thoroughly enjoy doing business with and I work really well with doing this business, but there's nobody that I'm perfectly sponsored by, getting discounts, getting paid by, nothing like that. You know, I've been around this YouTube thing since June of 2009, and I truly believe that I try to be the most unbiased guy when making these reviews. You know, I use gear, I use all sorts of reels, all sorts of rods, and every bait probably in the book. I mean, there's probably there's not one item out in the fishing industry that I haven't fished and really haven't reviewed. So the cool fishing stuff, in parentheses, was this series of videos that I decided I wanted to come up with. And today we're going to be talking about what I think pound for pound is one of the most popular topwater baits pretty much on the market today. And that is going to be the river to sea whopper plopper. Particularly this is the smaller size, 90 size. A couple key just features on the bait itself before we get out there and do some fishing, do some reviewing on it. It's 4 inches from the line side to the end of the bait here where the swivel is, where that back treble connects. The body from the end of the tail to the beginning of the nose is right around 3 inches, so that's your main part of the bait, kind of what you're imitating out in the water. And it kind of acts as a buzz bait. It's got this rotating tail on the back that as you bring that through the water, it's going to catch the water and throw this huge bubble line that leaves behind the bait on its retrieved back. A lot of people are catching fish with this bait, and they're not just catching them in the north, they're not just catching them in the south or the west or wherever, but preferably in my region right now, and you know, the southeast, this bait is catching a lot of fish everywhere. And today we're going to take that test out to this lake. I'm surprised when I pulled up here, I expected to have 4 or 5 other people for competition. I was kind of thinking in my head where I was going to fish, but today's the first day in quite some time that I haven't been the only guy out here. I've also never fished topwater out here, so I picked this guy up. You know, generally you can find this bait anywhere from $12 to $16. It just happened to be 13 bucks where I bought it at. The bigger size, about 18. So we're going to take this out, throw it around some 30-pound braid on the Cast King Assassin with the Ducket, 7-foot medium heavy Ducket Ghost. See what we can get with it. We're going to switch to the chest cam, hopefully catch some fish, but if not, we'll get you a good review to you on this bait for the popular river to sea whopper plopper. This side of the lake I'm not going to spend too much time on because it's really dirty and I don't really know what they have sprayed in the water over here, but it's really freaking dirty. I mean, as you can hear, it's just got great action. It's got real good bubbling, like a throaty, good action to it. I mean, right away, some pros of it. It's a really heavy bait, so you can really chuck good, but it comes through the water real nice. I mean, you don't feel like you're reeling in a 14-inch Huddleston Deluxe swim bait when you're bringing this thing across the surface. Obviously, it floats. They're able to pause it and give it some different actions and different retrieves. But I'm throwing this thing out, letting it sit there till kind of the ripples of the splash of the bait hitting the water kind of settle, and then I'm starting to retrieve it back. You can probably see on the GoPro that little bubble trail that it leaves behind. It's awesome. What I really like about this bait is it runs 100% true in the water. I mean, it doesn't really turn over too well. It's got a really well-built keel, so it helps that bait just sit true in the water and just run straight, giving you that solid topwater action the entire way through your cast. I mean, you're able to fish this thing kind of different retrieves. I mean, you can chuck it out there and just give a standard retrieve, or you can send it out there and kind of fish it a little bit slower, you know. You can allow it to sit there, twitch it, or just kind of pull your rod and give it that action. So it kind of sits tail down in the water. If you guys have ever fished like a Lucky Craft pointer, so imagine my hand being the water line. It kind of sits down with its head up above the water compared to just flat on the top like a spook would. But when you're fishing the shore, especially like topwater, the only con with this bait is you can't be throwing it into cover. There's a lot of moss along the edge of the pond here, so I can't get it too close, and that's the big con about it. I mean, it's grass, lily pads. I mean, it's over. Your cast is screwed. But when you're fishing kind of a little bit more open water like we are today, you can kind of be a little more strategic about it. And like I said, start right on the edge of the cover, then you can move a little bit farther out. So that the spot you're fishing, you kind of want to cover 180 degrees. And you really just want to figure out if those fish are... Oh, dang it. Got one sitting here talking. Didn't really allow that fish to go down with it. I got really excited. I wasn't even looking. But as I was explaining, you kind of want to start off the shore as close as you can get to the structure, and then just move out, cast straight out, and see where you can find them out. So that was my first bite, and that's about 15 feet. The thing about this bait as well is the faster you reel it, the noisier it gets. So you can get it pretty subtle, reeling pretty slow, or you can make it really bubbly and really obnoxious by really ripping it back to you. Look at this view. I mean, the fishing ain't worth nothing right now, but that view is beautiful, as they say. Beautiful. So contrary to popular belief, I did catch a fish in this video just really later on in the night. After that sunset kind of went through, a buddy of mine had met me over there at the lake. We were just kind of meeting up, talking about our fishing night. Obviously mine was pretty much garbage, but I was able to catch one about 10 inches, and that was the first time I had ever brought the whopper plopper out of the box, tied it onto a rod, and started fishing with it. And the best way really to describe that whopper plopper is essentially it's a swim bait and buzz bait like mixed together into like this hybrid bait. It's got that little 3.5-inch body with that tail sticking out the back that gives it that buzz bubbling type action, which is really essentially what a buzz bait does, and a buzz bait has been around forever. It incorporates that bubbling action, which is what a tail on a swim bait kind of does. But as I've kind of fished that later on throughout the night, obviously you're not really seeing how much grass, hydrilla, whatever is on the surface of the water. And I started catching a ton of stuff, and then I fished it the next day again at another lake, and I started seeing a lot more of the cons coming out in these baits. So I'm fishing this whopper plopper, and one thing I noticed on the back joint where that tail meets up to the body, there's a real small space where that tail kind of kicks around. Well, small pieces of grass, moss, duckweed, any type of small little piece of structure can wrap up into that, and it keeps the tail from spinning freely in the water. And then the entire bait, we'll use this for example, the entire bait is doing this in the water. It's rolling over, opposed to just the tail kicking. As you retrieve the bait, the tail, gives it that chuttering action. It's just spinning, and it's still giving you kind of that chuttering action, about 80% of what the bait should be doing, but it's twirling up your line the entire time. So you can even see it in a part of the video where I got some grass caught up in the back of the bait. You start seeing the braid kind of twirl around, start getting tangled up at the nose of the bait every time I brought it out of the water. And later on the next day, I kind of figured it out. So bad to the fact I had to strip my reel totally off of that braid. It wasn't the greatest line around either. It was some old, like really old braid I had laying around, but I wanted to chuck it around on this reel because I hadn't thrown my Cast King Assassin on braid yet. So that was really annoying, especially for the areas that I fish pretty much all the time. I mean, you're constantly fishing grass, you're constantly fishing hydrilla and lily pads, and just all this shoreline structure, if not offshore structure, which consists of a lot of topped out, hydrilla and grass, which totally affects the work of this whopper plopper. So generally I think there's a couple good substitution baits, to throw. And first off, just being a generic frog. You can't beat just a soft plastic weedless frog with 2 legs in the back. It gives it that sputtering, that chuttering action. You just reel it on top and you can throw this thing around any slop, any cover, anything. It's weedless, not gonna get you hung up. Always gonna run true on you as well. You're definitely not gonna run into issues with it getting hung up in grass and little things like that. The next one, which is personally my favorite, and anybody that watches the channel can pretty much agree, is just a soft plastic swim bait. This happens to be a Bitters Bait and Tackle Naked Swimmer. $2.99 for a 5-pack of them, can't be beat. So I take a 4-aught hook, 4-aught wide gap, can't be beat. It's a great style hook for this swim bait. Sometimes I'll use the spiral locks, kind of really depends what kind of cover I'm fishing. A 4-aught fits that swim bait perfect. It's perfect size, and it's a good swim bait. These sell a ton of colors in this stuff. So many colors that I probably haven't even fished them all. So I think it's a lot easier just to buy like 4 bags of different swim baits. You can kind of find what color you like throwing or whatever. Obviously you can go to a good generic buzz bait as well, which basically gives you the same amount of action that the whopper plopper does, just kind of a little bit different look in the water column. And then of course you've got all the other topwater baits, which is kind of the sneak peek talk into the next video. I know we're kind of veering out of that way, but I fish schools all the time, and coming into this, we're late August, we're late summer, going into September, early fall. This fish down here in the south just starts schooling up like unbelievably, especially in my sector in Florida that I fish a lot. I know I live in Georgia right now, but the areas that I travel to Florida a lot, the fish are just unbelievable when you can school, and topwater baits are definitely a good way to target them in the morning. This just happens to be a storm chug bug, so there's tons of different topwater baits out there that can substitute for a whopper plopper. But I feel like that bait gets a lot of attention right now, which is why I made this video. Unfortunately, we weren't able to put a couple fish in the video attached as well. But I'm gonna continue working on that. I'm gonna have the whopper plopper out. We're gonna be fishing it a ton, and hopefully the next video that I put out on it, you can have a couple good old chunky Georgia bass in there for y'all. Appreciate you guys tuning into this video. It's cool to get out there and fish new stuff. I absolutely adore and love fishing new stuff, and I love talking about it, giving the pros, cons, and giving you just the hard-earned truth on what these certain baits or products are. I like the whopper plopper. I really enjoy the action. I can see its consistency as a bait. It's definitely a different look in the water, so I feel like, yes, you should just go out there and buy that, take it to your favorite hole. It's a good overall bait, just I had an off night fishing it, that's all. And that was the first time I ever even brought topwater to that lake, and it's a highly pressured lake, so it didn't really surprise me until the very late evening, but you know, that's fishing. Plenty of talks coming around with Cash King reels as well. Like I said, topwater's coming around, and two cool fishing videos for you guys, so I'm really excited to release those. Wanted to bring this out just to kind of end the week on a good note. As I said, wanted to push a bait out to you, wanted to push some new cool fishing videos out to you, and this was what it was. Until next video, guys, make sure y'all stay tuned to the bassallyear channel. I can't thank you all enough for your support. Can't thank you guys enough for coming in, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that thumbs up, and viewing today's video. Until next video, make sure y'all stay tuned. Plenty of content, as I explained, coming your way. So make sure you get out there, tight lines, catch some fish. And if you enjoy the whopper plopper, make sure you comment below and tell us how you like fishing it, what line, what rod, all those details below. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for viewing. Talk to y'all later. Peace.